Well, all right, folks. Welcome to 120 Months, the show where we are counting down all the hits and not hits of the 1990s. We are in October of 1990. This is part one of a two-part episode, maybe three, but I think two. We'll see.
So many releases.
A lot of releases in October for some reason.
It's crazy because, and we're missing stuff. Like I texted you yesterday about the Devo thing, you know? Mm-hmm. There's so much music released in these months. It's so much.
It makes me curious now to see what do the releases look like for October of 2025? You know,
I think it's a little different. I think that not everybody, but a lot of people just release singles. You know?
Yeah, it's not an album-driven world as much.
Not so much.
Okay, so lots of stuff this month. Where should we start, John? Do you want to pick the starting band for us? Do you have something in mind? Because we can really go anywhere with this.
I wanted to tell a little story.
Tell me a story.
Back in my day, so this month really exemplifies this funny thing this guy said he was a journalist. I knew him. We weren't friends, but I knew him, you know. And he was a journalist. I forgot. I think it was BAM magazine or something like that. And he had said something in 1989. He said, "REM destroyed alternative rock because they made it seem like any schmuck who can play three chords can be in a successful band." And I think there's a couple of examples of that in this month.
Interesting.
Isn't
that kind of punk too? Like earlier, when you think about the Ramones, aren't they famous for people would say they played two chords?
That is punk, yes.
It's not alternative rock though. It's not the same genre.
I think some people, but the bands that we care about, like REM and the Ramones, they have something.
Yeah.
Even though they're only playing two or three chords and it's really simple and they're not proficient, there's some magic thing happening. Like Velvet Underground kind of celebrated the fact they couldn't play.
It's funny that that REM you think is not super proficient on their instruments, because for me they were always just this wall of really beautiful layers.
They got really good
right.
at doing what they do. There's a lot of bands like that. Like U2 is like that.
Yeah,
they're very good at what they do. The Edge, you could play everything he plays on the guitar, but it's the way he puts it all together that's unique. He's not a proficient shredder.
No.
That's what I think it is. I think that, and I'll have something to say about that with a couple of these bands. There's a thing that these groups have. Like REM, if you listen to their first couple of records, it's a lot. There's some nice picking that Peter Buck is doing on there, but it's very simple.
Yeah.
And
they have a spirit though. There's a clip of REM.
They do.
Playing in their dorm room, they're all laying around the beds kind of thing, and they're just almost there's no amps or anything. They're just kind of playing acoustic instruments, and you can tell they have something. It's something in their melodies and songs and the way they play together.
Yeah. There's just some magic.
He's just good at arpeggios, that guy.
He is very good at those.
That's the whole sound in a lot of ways.
Pete Buck, yeah.
Well, we hear some of that on some of these records today.
So I guess will we start with the band I'm repping?
Yeah, Iron Maiden. Let's do it.
They're not one of those bands.
You've got, I didn't even know, doing research for this, I didn't even know that guy that's on your shirt, Iron Maiden, and I have an Iron Maiden shirt too.
His name is Eddie.
Eddie, yeah. There's a name to this guy.
Yeah.
This stuff terrified me when I was a kid, and I think I'll be interested to hear what you think about Iron Maiden, because to me, especially listening to other bands like we listened to in this month, like Skinny Puppy, Iron Maiden sounds so tame. They don't sound as scary as you think they're going to sound. Their themes are scary. They're talking about annihilation and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they sound like a bar rock band a lot of times to me. Like a harder bar rock band, if that makes sense.
Gosh, I would never describe them as bar rock. But they were never like that.
A bar rock in hell.
Like you said, I love Iron Maiden. For those of you out there listening who are Iron Maiden fans, they have a famous live album called Live After Death. It was recorded in 1986, I want to say, maybe 87. I think it was 86. I'm going off memory here. And it's at Long Beach Arena. two nights at Long Beach Arena. They recorded it, and you can hear Bruce Dickinson over and over again on the record going, "Scream for me, Long Beach," and the audience erupts. I was at that show.
No way.
Yeah, I am a big Iron Maiden fan. Punk rockers loved Iron Maiden because their approach is very punk rock. They're just like punk rock. They're a punk rock band who can play the shit out of their instruments. You know, their core. They don't just play these riffs. You know, like
what makes them more punk than like say Metallica or something like that?
They're less riff based and they're chord based, like bow bow bow. You know, like a lot of big ringing open chords. They will play riffs in their songs, and they'll have these shredder guitar solos. But if you look at the way the chords are being played underneath, like a lot of Metallica's, like the riff is going on under the singing, right?
Right.
In Iron Maiden, it's just really a lot of open chords.
It's not the chugga 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 metal
it's
sound.
not, and it's not
yeah.
the
Right.
it's I'm gonna grab your guitar.
Yeah, please.
It's like a lot of like if one of their famous early songs. I'm running free, yeah. I'm running free. You know, and then they'll do like a ba-doo down, but down, like then there's like these little riffs that they're doing that are very very complex and shredder. But when the song itself is kind of like very simple chord stuff, like punk rock.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's played as fast as punk rock. So
that's funny. I didn't think of it that, but now that you say that, it makes sense to me.
it's true. And but then they've got it all for rock, heavy rock fans, punk rock, metal, whatever, because they've got the punk thing that draws the punk rock people in. Their themes are very dark, like you said, the end of the world and corruption, but they're written in a way that doesn't insult your intelligence. They're they're a thinking person's metal band, which in American glam that would be an oxymoron. But I learned about Samuel Taylor Coleridge and classic poetry from Iron Maiden because they have a song called "Rime of the Ancient Mariner."
This makes me think of when we did Pantera's "Cowboys from Hell." And it was sort of like that album is literally about cowboys from hell. There is something a little shallow about what they're doing.
Exactly. You think of Cowboys from Hell. What's that about? It's about cowboys from hell. They have songs, about. They have songs about future dystopian. They write songs about classic literature, like I said, like "Rime of the Ancient Mariner." They write songs about. They have a song based on the old TV show "The Prisoner." They write songs about how horrible life is for prostitutes. And they made this record, Number of the Beast. It didn't just scare you, it scared Christian America to death.
Right.
People were burning this record and stuff, and Iron Maiden thought it was funny. But the song Number of the Beast is about a guy waking from a nightmare and realizes the nightmare is real, and he's terrified. It wasn't like, yeah, Satan. It's just a story about this, so they're great storytellers. Steve Harris, the bass player, writes all the lyrics.
So they're sort of in the Black Sabbath mode a little bit in terms of like a British band that takes seriously like Christian and satanic themes without just being about like devil, like they're they're intellectual in a way.
They are.
Yeah.
In early Black Sabbath, I do think Black Sabbath kind of descended into parody, later on of like
post Ozzy.
We talked about one of their records of like
that's right,
just imagery of dark angels, like whatever it may be, but Iron Maiden they keep talking about, they'll write a song about being in the trenches in World War II, and but it's very much there's a narrative in all the songs. It's very interesting. I think it's very good, and like I said, that's a weird thing too. I think of bands like this. So Steve Harris writes all the lyrics. He's the bass player, and he's one of the gnarliest bass players in the world. If you're a shred musician, you know who Steve Harris is. Just so fast, the boom, 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 plays with his fingers. He was known for his speed and how fast he can play shit. And he writes all the lyrics, or most of them, almost all of them. And I could never sing anybody else's lyrics. It's just hard for me. When we were doing original music, it was a challenge for me to do that. And there's bands. Neil Peart writes all the lyrics in Rush. The bass player, I forget his name, writes all the lyrics in Fall Out Boy, that band.
Is it different when you're doing covers of like known songs?
Well, yeah, you're just parroting something that you
right.
But in terms of being able to, I don't know how their process is. I don't know if Steve Harris comes in and goes, here's how it go. Here are the lyrics and here's the melody. Or if Bruce Dickinson takes it and says, I can sing it in this way. I don't know how you do that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying I always struggled to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's an interesting process because it's like you're sort of trying. I don't know if I'm imagining writing a poem for someone else to read or someone else to interpret. There's, I think the best bands are the ones that have that sort of mind meld relationship, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Where it's like they really know where each other are.
I have a point to make about that with Chris Cornell.
Okay.
I told you about it before. I keep referencing it. But yeah, a Mick and a Keith or a John and Paul, like these two heads are better than one relationships.
Right.
I love that. Some of the best stuff in the world that comes from that, Obviously.
Well, this album is called No Prayer for the Dying. It's the 8th studio album by Iron Maiden. Where does this album sit for you in the whole mythology? Because they've been around for 50 years.
They've been around forever.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah. This is, it wasn't a super successful album, if I'm correct. Mm-hmm. So on an album called Somewhere in Time, Caught Somewhere in Time. Mm-hmm. The album's called Somewhere in Time, I believe. They started using that was probably 86, 87, I'm not sure. Maybe. Mm-hmm. They started using these guitar synthesizers.
What is that?
It's a guitar that you play, but it processes and makes a sound like a string section or a keyboard,
Oh, wow.
And as much as I love Iron Maiden...
So it's an effect pedal, essentially.
Yeah. I don't think I can understand why you'd want to do that. I don't think Iron Maiden does anything interesting with it, though. It just sounds like there's a keyboard player in the band playing single notes or what, like it.
Right.
And that's present on this record, which always makes me kind of go, I'm more of a classic Maiden guy. Mm-hmm. And, it should be said that there's a couple of iterations of Iron Maiden. Their first singer was a guy named Paul Di'Anno, who just died a couple of years ago. Paul Di'Anno probably died like 5 years ago. Their first singer, Paul Di'Anno, he was on Iron Maiden, their first record, and Killers, which is a great record. And then he left the band, and they got Bruce Dickinson, who was the lead singer of a band called Samson. And Bruce Dickinson joins the band. And Paul Di'Anno's more of like a grungy rock and roll singer. He's got like let's get it on. I'm running free. And he's more of a
AC/DC or something.
He's got a Bon Scott vibe.
Right.
But he's also like a metal dude, like, and he can do all that shit. And then Bruce Dickinson sounds operatic.
Okay.
He's just a different guy, and he's got kind of a growl about things, and by the way, they still sound. He can still do all that shit.
I love the metal titles, as you know. Some of these titles of songs are just so fucking funny. And there's an all timer on this album called "Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter," which is just I can't help laughing at stuff like that because it just sounds funny to me. And I don't mean to make it trite because actually the song's a really good one.
Well, that's a song that it was supposed to go on Bruce Dickinson's solo album.
Okay.
And it was I'm going off memory here, so I might get this not entirely correct, but it was on the soundtrack for like Nightmare on Elm Street 8.
Yes. Right.
Or whatever, one of those movies that they made way too many of.
And at number 5, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
Yeah.
God, those movies did haunt my childhood though.
So that's really a Bruce Dickinson solo tune written along with. This is an interesting thing about this record. So this, as an Iron Maiden fans, this was an important record for another reason. Mm-hmm. That Adrian Smith, who had been the second guitar player, once again, I'm going off memory here. I think Adrian Smith was on Killers. He wasn't on the first record. But Dave Murray and Steve Harris, Dave Murray the guitarist, Steve Harris have been in the whole time. I think Adrian Smith joins for Killers. Maybe Number of the Beast, but I think it was Killers. And he's there the whole time through their glory period when they're like this huge thing. And he left after this record, right before this record. He left the band, Creative Differences, and was doing some solo stuff. And so this guy, Janik Gers, replaces him, okay? And Janik Gers was on Bruce Dickinson's solo record. with
Right.
him. So co-wrote Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, and also co-wrote the song Hooks in You, which sounds like a Motley Crue song. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like Iron Maiden. So I think he brought more of a standard metal feel
That makes sense.
to the band, and less he doesn't sound like an Iron Maiden guitar player. I don't know if they like that or not. I think he maybe I don't know what's going on now, who's in the band now. But so yeah, but there's a bunch of songs on this record, like Assassins, Fate's Warning. They've got everything Iron Maiden fans love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's all there. They're still crushing it on this record.
That's crazy. 1990. Iron Maiden, I guess this is like sort of a mid-point for them. When did they start?
They started in I want to say they started in
75.
Okay, yeah.
50 years ago. Jesus. And still going.
I'm telling you, they're on tour right now. And I watched a couple of clips last night of them performing at the beginning of this year. They sounded great.
Amazing. All right,
Yeah.
so let's move on to other October releases.
Now, if you
Yeah.
recall, on each record,
Yes.
if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
watching,
Please.
and you're like, oh, I'll check that record out, and you just got time to
Your
listen to one
standout
song.
song.
I always give a standout song. Listen to Run Silent, Run Deep. It's just a classic Iron Maiden tune.
Cool. Okay, so I don't know if you'll have a standout song on this next album. I'm curious what you think about it, because you've made a few comments over the months to me, both on and off the air, about a band called Goo Goo Dolls. They released an album in October of 1990 called Hold Me Up. It's their third studio album. It's known for a couple things, but the main thing I think it's known for is the fact that John Rzeznik, or Johnny Rzeznik, sort of takes over, or starts to take over as the lead singer. He sings on 5 songs on this album and begins to be like the sort of... he begins to be the voice of the band in a way that, for me, like knowing all the, and I think for most people that know all the Goo Goo Dolls later stuff, I mean, they're responsible for some of the biggest hits of the 1990s, and arguably Iris from the soundtrack to City of Angels,
Yes.
with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan,
Right.
is
Which
arguably
is a sequel to to
Wim Wenders.
Right.
Yeah, or a remake. It's one or the other. An American version.
Didn't we talk about this once?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It might be a remake.
I think
of
it's
something.
just an American remake. Let's settle it, John.
Wings of Desire. It's a remake of Wings of Desire.
Wings of Desire. Yeah, it is. It's a loose remake because different things happen.
Okay.
But either way, Iris in many ways is like the sound of the '90s for like the adult contemporary set in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
and it's like just a towering sort of hit. And spent, I think, like the longest period of time in the Billboard Hot 100 for any song of the 90s.
It was everywhere.
So Goo Goo Dolls have a very recognizable sound, and that sound is sort of present here on this album. It's starting to come together on a couple of the songs. I was like, just like you said about Soundgarden, where when we listened to Screaming Life Fop, you said, well, you can kind of hear it coming together on certain songs.
There's
like,
moments and you go,
there they
it
are.
is.
Yeah, there they are. And there were a couple times on this album where I was like, oh, okay, you can hear where they're going, which is really interesting to me artistically, that like a band sort of kind of touches on little pieces of what's going to become their signature sound later, but they don't really know it yet. Like, how do they eventually figure out that this is the sound that makes them, that is their identity? Because this album is kind of all over the place. It has like a bunch of different styles and sounds and tones to it.
They're another one of those bands at this point that they started out as a punk rock band, but they're obviously rock and roll fans, and like Soul Asylum and the Replacements, they're obviously like Stones fans and fans of that kind of like 70s rock and roll, but they're doing it with a punk feel, but they're getting good. So I think as these bands, as you start to get good, they've toured a lot at this point. This is their 3rd or 4th album, right? You start to get good, and you start going, hey, we could, you don't want to just pound out 2 or 3 chords. You want to try other things,
right? And
I think they're starting to do that a little bit now. But I will tell you this. You asked me something because I've talked about Goo Goo Dolls a little bit. If Goo Goo Dolls, if you're watching, I owe you an apology. So getting on the show every week, and
I'll start the soft piano music. John's mea culpa.
John, Mr. Rzeznik,
Johnny.
the nose job looks great. I have an interesting relationship with the Goo Goo Dolls. It's nothing of a sexual nature, I can assure you. But that ended in the late 80s. We used to listen to their music.
Yeah.
In the 80s. Mm-hmm. They were never one of my favorite bands. I never went and saw them play or anything.
But you knew them before their big breakthrough.
I remember when this record came out. I listened to this record when it first came out.
Interesting.
They had another record before this called Jed, and they're kind of like that punk thing. I always felt like Johnny Rzeznik was super influenced by Paul Westerberg. He sounds so much like him.
Westerberg wrote one of the tunes on this album.
It's not this record.
Okay.
He co-wrote an album. They have a record called Superstar Car Wash.
Right.
There's a song called We Are the Normal, and Westerberg co-wrote it. We'll talk about it when it comes out, probably.
Yeah.
But he admits that he's a huge Replacements fan, Johnny Rzeznik. He just sounds like him. I don't think he's trying to. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, we all kind of imitate our heroes, you know. But he just has a voice a lot like Westerberg.
But he does. I mean, obviously, he's taken it to a bigger place in the mainstream.
Okay,
you know what I mean.
And this is where my mea culpa comes from.
Right.
I always thought when the '90s happened, and I saw this band that I'd listened to, the Goo Goo Dolls, become really famous.
Yeah.
With what was pretty slick pop, like you said, adult contemporary pop. This isn't Nirvana, you know, it's not punkish. Johnny Rzeznik's up there with a little gold chain on and frosted tip hairdo with hairspray and looking at the camera like this.
Yeah, it kind of moved from MTV to VH1, if that makes sense, in like a very general way. Yeah.
So I kind of wrote it off like these guys just they stood on the shoulders of giants, and whether they did it on their own or let some record label do it, they were molded into this
sellout
hit machine, right? Yeah. That's not what happened at all. I felt like I fucking hate the internet because anybody can say anything they want about anybody. And so if we're going to talk about people, I feel like there's a little bit of responsibility to learn what we're talking about here, right?
Right.
So I went and watched a couple of things like Behind the Music, their VH1 thing.
Oh, they have one?
Yeah.
Wow.
What I think about them is completely wrong. They're these three dudes from Buffalo, and I don't know if you know anybody from Buffalo, but Buffalo, New York is a salt of the earth people. These are people, they're not fancy, but there's something about them that makes you root for them. And they have this really strong belief in themselves. I got a couple of friends. I got a buddy who's an ex-football player from Buffalo. And like, Buffalo people are very straightforward. That's what these guys are. They just believe they could be this big rock band, but they're really like just normal dudes. And we'll get into this. I don't want to talk about this right now because the other records are more appropriate to talk about how these, you know, how they broke and how they became popular. But I have a different opinion of them now, and I think they're a great power trio who figured out how to be great songwriters and great hit makers.
Yeah.
And I just think that Johnny Rzeznik was better at being a rock star than Paul Westerberg.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's got a better voice.
We talked about this when we talked about the Replacements album. We're like, Westerberg's stuff, the writing is there, the music is there, but the voice isn't really that compelling. There's not a character to it. Like if I'm somewhere and I hear a Goo Goo Dolls song, I know it's a Goo Goo Dolls song because I can hear Johnny's voice.
He's got a sizzle, man.
I'm not sure I would identify a Replacement song as much. I would have to know the song.
Westerberg never was able to fully. I think he had too much whatever it may be, whether it's artistic integrity or shame, wanting to be cool, whatever.
Yeah.
He never just went for it. And Rzeznik goes like, you know, he can do the sizzle. He can, like, I don't want the world to see. Like, he can nail that little spot where it still sounds good and crackles. Westerberg would have made his voice break to be cool. I don't want the world. You know,
I'm glad you said that because, you know what, the words that came into my mind when I was listening to this Goo Goo Dolls record, Hold Me Up, is that there's a dorkiness and an earnestness and it's sort of like, we don't care what people think and we're just going to make it. And that, to me, is a hallmark in a weird way of 90s music too. A certain strain of 90s music. And I'm talking about like, I don't know, like Friends. That show was big in the 90s. This sort of like dorky show. It's not like a really hip show.
Yeah,
really.
nobody's cool on the show.
It's not edgy
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all. It's kind of lame, and yet it had this sort of warmth to it that people really obviously loved. I think maybe we're talking about something mainstream and popular, but Goo Goo Dolls, it's weird. I've always had a kind of grudging admiration for them, and I don't know where the grudging part comes from. But I'm always kind of like, oh yeah, I guess I don't mind them, but ultimately I respect like how many fucking amazing hits they put out. Like their songs are touching in a way that I think is really important and reflects a real talent.
I agree, and there's something about them. There's something blue collar about it.
Yeah,
they've got like a Bon Jovi quality,
totally,
or a Springsteen quality. There's something working class that even if you think it's like even when I think that's a little corny, I'm still kind of rooting for them. Totally. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
And it's funny that I like that you compared it to Friends because it's the same kind of thing.
Yes.
Like the Friends. The cast of Friends, they're not afraid to look silly. They're very self-effacing. The joke is always on them, and yet they're perfectly beautiful the whole time.
Right.
And Johnny Rzeznik, he wasn't afraid to get a fake tan and facelifts and do his hair, like I said, frosted tips and stuff. But it's still kind of like he's still just doing what he thinks is going to make the band big.
Well, I think that it's the antithesis of cool in some ways, because especially for people like us who were both young in the 90s and thought of like, Nirvana and like the authentic punk rock that's what's fucking cool, not this kind of glammy, washed out, sentimental songs that Goo Goo Dolls is singing. Now we're older and we're saying, well, actually they're really good fucking songwriters.
The sincerity of the Goo Goo Dolls stands against what was hip in the 90s, and that everybody, even if, look, all these guys, I don't know how much this is true about Cobain because, I knew him.
Yeah.
He was one of the shyest human beings you've ever met in your life.
Right.
So I could believe he hated stardom. But like Eddie Vedder, Scott Weiland, these are guys who fought like fucking crazy to become stars and then went, oh man, I don't want to be a star. It was kind of a 90s thing to hate the fact that you were famous, Like the image was, I'm trying to crawl my way back into the garage. The Goo Goo Dolls are not doing that.
Right.
They're like, we want to be rock stars. We want to play
Well,
for
it's an attitude and a position towards selling out, which there's a deep irony towards people like Eddie Vedder. And I love Eddie Vedder, but like
me too.
But the idea of being like, I gotta sort of like swear off becoming a huge star at the same time I'm pursuing it, like there's irony upon irony with that.
Well, so once I let go of my fucking prejudices and my stupid thinking about the Goo Goo Dolls, this was my favorite record we listened to this week.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
I enjoyed
funny.
it.
Yeah.
It's a good record. It's still kind of punk.
Yeah.
Robbie Takak, the bass player, still sings a lot of the tunes on it.
There's some really good songs on it,
There
honestly.
are. Man, I remember when this song came out, David, when this album came out, the song "There You Are,"
yes,
which was the single. When this album came out, I thought they were going to be huge from that song.
That song does sound like their later stuff.
I just thought this song is going to be a big hit,
and so does the last song, which is the only real kind of acoustic song, like acoustic guitar driven song. It's called 2 Days in February. It sounds. Oh, I'm like, oh, okay. Here's the roots of Iris, here's the roots of Name, and like all those great fucking songs. And you know what? It's funny because those songs like Name and Iris are songs that, because I've learned, whatever I've learned on guitar has been entirely through YouTube. Pete, there are so many fucking tutorials for how to play Name, how to play Iris, how to play these songs. Yeah.
They're pretty easy to play.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the point. I think beginner songs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People getting into playing acoustic guitar, they want to play Wonderwall, which is, I guess, the cliche acoustic guitar song to play. If you're like the guy on the couch, just that rips his guitar out. It's Goo Goo Dolls songs that are
the guy by the campfire. I just happened to bring my acoustic guitar.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that it's because their songs are catchy. Their songs have really catchy melodies.
They have one. They have great skill with hooks. Yeah. And I want to correct something I said earlier. I talked about how the vibe in the early 90s at least was like, I know I'm a rock star, but I don't really want to be. I hate it. These guys want to be rock stars. I think in the way that, not like they want to be riding around in limousines and look at me. I think the Goo Goo Dolls really want to play for as many people as they can.
Yeah.
They just want to have a big crowd and rock out like we
Touch
made
people's
it.
hearts and yeah.
You know, like a very working class thing, and I like that about them. Some of these songs, there's a song called "Laughing," and there's 2 songs on this record that sound like Bad Religion. They're
I could see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're fast and like straight beats.
Do you have a standout song for this album?
I do. First of all, I have to say to anybody listening to the record, the song they have 2 covers on this record. One is called "A Million Miles Away." Mm-hmm. It's a cover of a great Plimsouls song. Plimsouls were an '80s band. One-hit wonder 80s band by Peter Case was the lead singer, and he was an artist I followed a lot in the 80s. He's a great songwriter. They do it okay. Like I like the original better, but and then they did a cover of "I Can Never Take the Place of Your Man" by Prince.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And it's that felt like such an 80s, late 80s alternative, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not saying they're not up to speed here. Just that world that we all grew up in. Johnny Rzeznik's only a few years older than me, right? Mm-hmm. That's a late 80s alternative thing to do.
Right.
Is cover that song in the way they did. Although they have this Buffalo lounge singer, Lance Diamond, who was the bass player's like downstairs neighbor, sing the song. I wish they would have sung it.
Yeah.
But it's a cool remake of that song because that, as a Prince song, I always thought that's like almost like a rock and roll tune, you know? Mm-hmm. And they remade it. It's pretty cool. But my standout song on this record is "There You Are."
Yeah.
It's a really good song.
Totally. I came back to it again and again because I was trying to recognize where are the Goo Goo Dolls that I know.
That's
here.
one of the moments. Yeah. And I agree with you about February. What's the February 2nd called or
it's called 2 Days in February.
2 Days in February. I agree with you about that one too. Yeah. So like I said, when I heard "There You Are," when the record came out in 1990, I thought, oh, they're going to be huge now. I did. It's such a hit song. It didn't happen for them, but.
Okay, let's go back to England with a band that I wasn't going to include on the list, but you said they should be here, and I'm so glad you did, John, because this album is called The Laws. The Laz. It's a self-titled album, the only studio album by an English band called The Laws, released on October 1st, 1990. I had obviously heard the single "There She Goes" a million times. Yeah. And it sort of in my head was I always thought maybe, I never really thought about it explicitly, but I thought maybe this is like a 60s song because it sounds so much like a 60s song. And it's covered by this band called Sixpence None the Richer.
So who else did a cover of it?
I'm not sure. Let me see.
The reason I wanted to include
it's a well-known song.
There's a couple reasons why I wanted them included on the list because they're not a band that everybody knows, you know?
Right.
Like, you're not going to put The Laws on the little screen the thing and have everybody go, oh, I want to watch that one, you know?
Right.
But that song was ubiquitous.
Huge.
Not for them, though. It was just in every fucking movie. It was in So I Married an Axe Murderer. It was in, I'd love for you to look up, you got your computer there.
Yeah.
How many
covers of it?
No, how many movies was it featured on the soundtrack of?
Oh, that's a good
and
question.
It is a close to perfect pop song.
Appeared on the soundtrack to The Parent Trap, to Fever Pitch, to Girl Interrupted, to Cold Case, to The Adventures of Pete and Pete, Snow Day, and So I Married an Axe Murderer. Also on the pilot episode of Gilmore Girls, which is so fucking perfect, honestly, because like it just makes so much sense with Gilmore Girls. This song is like it's everywhere.
It was everywhere.
It's one of those songs that feels like it always existed.
Yeah,
that's why I thought it was a '60s song in some ways, and also they're like totally aping the '60s sort of sound. Like to me, this album, I really enjoyed this album. By the way, it sounds like. It sounds like the soundtrack to Rushmore or a Wes Anderson movie with like that all that British invasion stuff of the 60s. Like you've got like the Chad and Jeremy or the Kinks. Like there's that sound here, a jangly kind of guitar, a really wistful sort of attitude. The songs all have a very specific sound. And I think the backstory of this album is really funny. The fact that they worked with all these like big producers, because the lead singer, I'm forgetting his name now, wanted a very particular sound, and felt like none of these producers were delivering it. And when they finally released this album, like years later, all the band disowned it. They're like, we don't fucking want anything to do with this. We don't really stand by any of this stuff. And it became a huge, I don't know how huge a hit it was, but
did
it's
pretty good in the UK.
Yeah, it's influential. Bands like Oasis and the Arctic Monkeys and a bunch of other British bands love this album, and I think cite it as a big influence.
I feel like you can hear that, but I agree with them. The production is terrible. Steve Lillywhite produced it. He's a legendary producer, worked with U2 and all these famous bands. I mean, Steve Lillywhite produced War by U2.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
did so many, like, just gave them such a cool sound on that record.
Right.
But it's just, the
War has Sunday Bloody Sunday on it, right?
It does, yeah. And New Year's Day.
Right.
And, Two Hearts Beat as One. So I've made a record like this that feels like everything's happening on the same plane. There's no dimension.
Yeah. It all does sound like one song.
And that's what the record feels like to me. It's there's no depth of field to the production.
It's flat.
It's flat. It's
Yeah.
very flat. So I get it. Like, there's just problems with it. Now, going back to what you said, their sound is something that was called Mercy Beat. Mercy, Mersey. It's a town in.
I've never heard this.
So it's a big part of the sound of the British invasion of the '60s.
Right.
It's a lot of like acoustic guitars and the snare stuff. I think that the production and the way the album is played is a giant problem. The couple songs I want to talk about, the acoustic guitar on a song called Liberty Ship. This is my pet peeve. It sounds like somebody plugged the acoustic guitar into the board and recorded it that way.
Right.
Like, there's none of that strum and shimmer and room sound that an acoustic guitar has, of the pick hitting the strings and the ring in the room. It's not there, and it just sounds like, Jesus, this is terrible. You know, I could get maybe it's experimentation, but the guitar, it just sounds like crap.
Do you think this is musician's ear stuff for you in some ways?
I'm sure it is.
Because now I want to go back and listen to this track. And
But
be
those
like,
guys don't like it either,
where
right?
was that shitty acoustic guitar?
There's a song called Looking Glass. It's a pretty song.
Yeah, the last one. It's like 8 minutes long.
It sounds like, the acoustic guitar sounds like concrete. That's the only word I can come up with. That's like clunky, and there's no crystal, like there's no magic to the way it's. And then let's talk about drums. Drums. So I have been a singer and a guitar player my whole life, but I'm always a wannabe drummer. Like, I'm always, when I listen to a song, I'm always air drumming to it. You know, I love drums. Drums are super important to me. And this guy, I have a friend named Mike Zuter, one of the greatest musicians. You can look him up. He used to play with like George Lynch from, what band was George Lynch in? And he's just in all these YouTube videos. He's just amazing guy. Okay. Amazing musician. And I played a demo of a band I was in the early 90s for him once.
Dawkins, by the way. Is
George
the
Lynch.
band, George Lynch, yeah.
And he played with all these famous guitar players. He was a shredded guitar player. He's such a good guy. He said to me, I played this demo of this band I was in. And I go, you know, and what'd you think? And he goes, I think you and the drummer were really good friends. And I said, we were. How did you know that? And he goes, because you didn't fire him. And the drummer in this band is
That's great.
The drummer in this band is the singer's brother.
Right.
And I think maybe that's how he got the gig. Because the drums don't sound good, first of all. The snare that he's playing a lot is kind of flat and shitty. And I just think the way his instinct for how to play the songs, to me, just feels wrong. There's a song called IOU where it kind of works, but for most of these songs, like, there's no cymbal, there's no hi-hats,
right?
Which creates sort of a rhythm with a strummy guitar thing. There's some tambourine in there, but once again, this is jangle pop. You need hi-hats, dude. And then the only time there are cymbals, they're just way overpowering. And I really didn't like the drumming on this record. Really didn't like it. The songs are good.
Yeah.
There's a song called Failure. It's another example. Like, it's a cool song, but then I want the drums to come in, and they really never do. You just kind of go up.
Do you think "There She Goes" is the best song on this album? Yeah. Are they kind of one-hit wonders? Is that do you have a standout song for this album?
For sure. Well, my favorite song on the record is called "Freedom Song." I called that my standout song just because it's such an interesting song. It's got sort of a carnival vibe, like Alabama Song with Doors. You know, it's like a what would you call it? Like Village Roadshow kind of. I don't know. That's a movie production company.
It's interesting to me that they disowned this album. That they heard what you heard.
Yeah, I totally hear it.
Yeah,
I totally hear it. So but
they blame the producers. They were like, we couldn't get it right. Couldn't get the sound right.
I agree with them. I think they wrote some really good songs on this record.
Yeah.
And to answer your question about "There She Goes,"
right?
It is a real pop gem. Like, that's a beautiful melody over a simple chord structure. If I were going to critique it, and I am, it's one of those things to me. This is my ear, my opinion. Doesn't mean shit, but this is what I think. There are a few songs like this. You know the song "Killing Moon" by Echo and the Bunnymen?
Oh, I love that song.
It's a great fucking song.
Yeah, that's
man.
one of my.
Oh my god,
that's one of the songs that I start playlists with, like on Spotify or whatever. I'll like play that and be like, make a radio out of that because I love the sound of it.
The chorus is magic.
It's so good.
The problem, and that's on that album. "Ocean Rain" is one of my favorite records of all time. I love Echo and the Bunnymen. The problem is, they know how good it is too. And check out how many times they do "Fade Up Against the Wall" over and like
it's a long song.
It happens a lot in the song.
Right.
It's like, man, that's good. Let's do it again. You know, I feel that way a little bit about this. "There she goes."
Yes.
It's really that's all they do in the song.
It's very repetitive and commercial, and it makes sense that that soundtrack would pick it up.
So my feeling, and I could be fucking full of shit here, I probably am. My feeling is that they also know, wow, that's good, and just couldn't stop doing it. They couldn't help themselves, you know, like, because it's just really the whole song over and over and over again. But it is a great song.
Okay, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on this album, but I did want to mention it because they're a band that I think may come. No, they won't come back.
They won't come back.
They're important. Galaxie 500. They have an album.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd moved on from
I'm moving on from the Laws.
One more thing about the Laws. I just want to say this because I want to reference something you and I talked about.
Please.
Remember we talked about singers who have like a thing or don't?
Right.
We talked about Prong. That guy just doesn't have a thing for me.
A character. Yeah.
Lee Mavers is the singer of this song. He has a thing.
Yeah.
I think he's cool. Like you said, I totally hear how he influenced Liam Gallagher and other singers of that time. Very cool. He has a thing. So sorry.
No worries.
I thought you were still talking about that.
No, I wanted to mention Galaxie 500, this album, This Is Our Music, and now I'm recognizing that they're not going to come back, but I think they are influential in the same kind of way. I think I put them with the Laws in some way. In fact, I kind of was jumping back and forth between these two albums and trying to kind of pick up the differences in their approach and their sound, because they're both doing things that other bands are going to try to pick up in the later 90s. Galaxie 500 is an American band, indie rock band. They put out this album called This Is Our Music in September 1990. We missed it. You made that correction. Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I wanted to pick it up in part because I like this band. I like Galaxie 500. I like this sound. Like there's they do something that's a little more in that shoegaze dream pop world where there's sort of distortions and effects going on with their guitar and their voices. But I appreciated this album. I want to make sure we mention it. I don't know what you thought about this one.
Well, before I give you any of my opinions, I would love to hear you expound upon what you said about what aspects of this music do you think became influential? Where do you hear it elsewhere?
The sort of shoegaze texture, the idea of longer songs that were more about atmosphere. I can hear, and I know they're sort of contemporaneous with My Bloody Valentine and that sort of stuff. It feels like it's dream pop. It's that sort of like not so hooky driven songs, but songs that are about inhabiting a certain kind of sonic space and just kind of drenched in that. And there's a lot of yeah, there's a lot of texture to their sound.
Yeah.
And I'd never really thought consciously that much about Galaxie 500, but I think they appear on a lot of those lists that I put, like I'll put in like Killing Moon or something like that, and they're in there because they're, I mean, even connected to bands like The Cure and stuff like that. There's
the
something,
algorithm finds them.
Yeah, right. And I hate to use this word, but I feel like they're sort of a minor note within that world in some ways. There's nothing that like blows you away, but I like their sound. I like Galaxie 500.
I had heard of them. I've never listened to, but I've heard their name before. But I agree with you. It is dream pop. If the dream is a nightmare. I couldn't love it. I thought this record would have fit really great, like its context around the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
This would fit very well on mid-80s college alternative radio.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
I could. It actually, a lot of the songs, there's songs like Hearing Voices, Spook.
Mm-hmm.
They sound like something off of a record that REM put out, probably 85. You could look it up. It's called Dead Letter Office.
Yeah.
And it's their B-sides and songs they never released.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff sounds like, I think this guy is influenced by Michael Stipe as a lyricist, as a singer.
What a compliment. You're like, this sounds like the stuff that REM threw away.
So let me tell you why. This is that thing I was talking about, how REM ruins music.
Yes.
REM gives these guys the idea that they can be a band.
Right.
And there's just... They're musicians of very limited technical ability, which is fine, and they make good use of it actually. But this record sounded to me like I went over to somebody's house to watch these kids practice in a garage. It's just very. It's I remember trying to figure out how to make reverb work on a vocal and how to use a delay pedal.
Right.
And it sounds like they're doing that, like figuring it out.
Playing with the effects stuff.
As they're going along. And a huge... So, gosh, I hate to be... I'm not a music critic.
Yeah.
But, man, the girl...
You're much more in tune, though, to me, with your ear in terms of... Like, I think I'm listening to, like, these albums as sort of, like, the total... The sum of their parts, and you're hearing the parts, and that's really interesting to me.
The reason I can't help it because I've been playing music my whole life, but it's also I think there's an interesting conversation to be had about why some of these bands hit and some don't.
Right.
And even if you don't know why these are some, they may be reasons, what we're talking about, why you as a DJ in karaoke went, I'm not going to play that song again. You don't know why.
Right.
So the bass playing on every one of these songs is very improvisational.
Mm-hmm.
She's high up on the neck a lot. She's playing up with these little walking notes, very simple melodic things. But it's improvisational.
Mm-hmm.
It's not structured. It's not necessarily even because it sounds great with the vocal line and it just feels like she's goofing around.
Right.
And she gets lost in it a lot. And doesn't in a 3-piece, the bass needs to hold it down sometimes.
Yeah.
And she never does. She's just not musical enough for my ear to pull off what she's doing. It just sounds like somebody's sitting there with the bass going do 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 do, like just fiddling about while the song is going on, because the song is so simple. And it becomes very monotonous and irritating to me sometimes. And then nothing drew me in lyrically.
No.
So he doesn't do the poetry thing. That's fine. Once again, Michael Stipe never rhymes anything either. But this is a lyric from a song called Sorry. Are you sorry that you love me? Am I sorry I love you too? Seems it doesn't make a difference that we're sorry all the time. I mean... That could be scribbled in the diary of a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's 8th grade shit.
It just there was nothing. Then a lot when I could get the lyrics, I just felt like,
this is so funny.
Nothing hit me.
You know what this is reminding me of? I had the pleasure of having dinner with one of the jazz performers at the Grape the other night, right? And he was asking me what do I think of some of the other performers, and I won't name any of these people because it's so insane. But I was like telling him, I think this guy's great. He's an amazing player, and he was like, that guy sucks. He's terrible. He can't play at all. And I was like, but I enjoy those solos, you know? And he's like, well, you may enjoy them, but nobody else does, you know? And it was sort of like, this is what this feels like to me in part. Because I'm sitting there like clapping on, and it shows you what music is to people. Because you can be like, look at this crowd, they're all loving this song. And then some of us are like, you like this?
Let me ask you a question. Will you go back and listen to this record again?
Galaxie 500? Yeah. No, but I won't skip past it if the song comes up on a list.
I probably wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But I mean, it isn't horrible.
I tell you what, speaking of jazz, the fact that they called this album "This Is Our Music," which is the name of an Ornette Coleman, who's like a jazz master from the '60s and '70s era, it's a little ballsy.
Like it's like the Replacements having an album called "Let It Be."
Yeah, right. You're like, really? Okay.
Well, you know what? This is another problem with this record. I said I wouldn't move past it.
Yeah.
About 3 minutes into the song, I probably would, because the songs are
they're long. Yeah.
They're self-indulgent.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of reason to do what they're doing for 6 minutes.
I hear you.
If you are a musician, this is my look at it. This is not right or wrong. If you're out there on the internet, you want to tell me I'm full of shit, fine, go for it. But look, you should either be able to play really well, or have great songs, or have great ideas.
Have something to say. Yes.
I think they have none of those.
Right.
I don't think they can play
have
well.
At least one of those.
I don't think they can play well. I think the songs are cool but not great, and the ideas are like.
And my caveat to that, because I think that's a really good thing to say, and a good like sort of barometer for what good music is, in just sort of a broad opinion type way. But like, I think that technical skill just on its own is pretty boring. Like I would rather, and you've said this with singers like Patti Smith or Neil Young or even Chrissie Hynde, that like the technical skill isn't like blowing you away. These people aren't going to win on American Idol or The Voice.
Right.
And yet they're like somehow artists because of what they have to say and what character they bring to it.
Well, let me say this.
Yeah.
I would rather listen to Galaxie 500
than
Yngwie Malmsteen and Rising Force.
Right.
They're all shredders, right? Just all that crazy guitar stuff of the 80s, like shredder, Euro shredder stuff.
Yeah.
I would rather listen to Galaxie 500. Or 5,000. I appreciate.
It's 500.
It's 500?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I say 5,000?
You said 5,000, yeah.
I didn't even care enough to learn the name. No. That's not true. So the
Galaxie 5000 sounds right too to me for some reason. Yeah.
There's a song on here called King of Spain 2.
Yes.
Where the bass line and the vocal melody get into a fight. You know, like it's just the accompaniment is so horrible. And here I am being more of a performer because I've played with bad accompanists as a singer.
Right.
Guitar players who just can't fucking lay out. You know, like, dude, you're gonna get a solo. Please stop fucking noodling.
Yes.
Let the singing happen. You know.
Right.
The bass line is fighting with the vocal in the song. It's so frustrating to me. There's. With these songs are clocking in at over 5 minutes, and there's a lot of it's just this improvisational jamming by people who shouldn't be jamming. You know, it's
sounds like you think it's Galaxie 0. Am I right?
The Galaxie 5 nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
No, but my standout song is "Melt Away."
Yeah.
It sounds like a Velvet Underground tune. It's
totally
pretty cool.
Well, they're the band that is often put next to them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I don't know if I quite am willing to put Galaxie 500 in the same bucket as Velvet Underground, but I can see what they're...
Well, let's be honest.
Why people say that.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Velvet Underground... Now Velvet Underground are, as individuals, so interesting. Lou Reed, John Cale. They're so interesting that they have ideas that you go...
Yeah.
But they do a lot of shit that's hard to follow too. Like,
100%.
You know?
Yeah, especially on those live albums.
But
I kind of like that stuff. I like their rough approach. It's part of the whole aesthetic.
They, as artists, are interesting enough that you kind of want to check in. You know,
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so
sorry, Galaxie 5000. I apologize.
More.
What a dick.
More British bullshit. You know. British music and American music, it feels like there is so much British, and eventually, for me at least, getting into like what is this next wave of indie rock in the 2000s that I was listening to. It's a lot of Scottish shit too, a lot of like like I don't know, like Badly Drawn Boy and Bell and Sebastian and the Beta Band, like a whole bunch of Scottish shit.
Now?
But the 2000s.
2000s.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this album, and I guess would be influential to that stuff. Honestly, this is called Behaviour by a synth pop duo, not a band, called Pet Shop Boys, who are very well known. Actually, I didn't realize the Pet Shop Boys are the biggest selling duo in British music. They're huge.
They're huge.
Yeah, and this album isn't their hugest album, and it's not, I think, the album that sticks out to me as having the like best songs on it, but it definitely sounds like them.
They had 2 records in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
They had a song, that song West End Girls.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's ubiquitous.
Let's Make Lots of Money. Those songs were everywhere for a long time. Both of them, by the way, were released and flopped.
That's funny.
Originally.
Yeah.
And then were remixed, and then a year later were huge.
I like West End Girls a lot. That's a song that I've grown to love over the years.
I probably am never going to put on a Pet Shop Boys album, but they're cool. Like, they have their own thing, and it's respect. They're good artists.
Well, you're not a synth pop guy, it seems like. I'm with the exception, and I want to say this. We listened to this Depeche Mode album, Violator.
It's great.
Which we both fucking love.
Yeah.
Great album. I think we both probably loved it well before we recorded that podcast. But either way, that album was an explicit reference point for this one, Pet Shop Boys' Behaviour.
Yeah.
And it came out the same year. Mm-hmm. They were like, I guess they went right to the studio because this is only a few months later, and we're like, we want to make something a little bit in that mode. And you can kind of hear it. And to me, there were a couple songs where I was like, these are almost like direct ripoffs of Depeche Mode stuff, and it's not as good as the Depeche Mode stuff.
Yeah, to me, Depeche Mode is a much more interesting artist. Mm-hmm. The band is a much more interesting artist as a whole than Pet Shop Boys. But I respect both of them. I want to give you some Pet Shop Boys trivia.
Please.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, these are true or false questions.
Oh, no.
True or false, Neil Tennant was an editor at Marvel Comics.
It must be true.
That's true. True or false?
Editor.
True or false? Neil Tennant was in a band with Johnny Marr of the Smiths and Bernard Sumner of New Order.
That I know that's true.
That is true.
Yeah,
Electric. They're called.
Yeah, and I think Johnny Marr plays.
He plays on this record.
Yeah.
They have won the most British music awards of any duo ever.
That's true, right?
That's false.
No, okay. Who's the winner of that? Do we know?
No.
Okay.
They were listed as the most successful duo in UK music history in the 1999 edition of the Guinness Book of World Records.
That's true.
That is true. They were inspired by... Is it true that each of these artists inspired them? Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Soft Cell, Kraftwerk, Human League, Depeche Mode, Beastie Boys.
Are the Beastie Boys really in there?
They're in there.
Wow.
Is it true or false?
Yeah. Well, it must be true.
Let me tell you why it's true.
Yeah.
Because their name, Pet Shop Boys, was sort of a joke on the Beastie Boys. Because they have friends that work at the Pet Shop
Boys. I love it.
They once had a hit song featuring Dusty Springfield.
I think that's true.
It is true.
Yeah. And I didn't realize they did the cover of U2, Where the Streets Have No Name.
The Streets Have No Name.
Yeah.
They wrote and produced an album for Liza Minnelli.
Is that true? You made that one up.
What do you think?
I'm going to say false.
It's true.
It sounds like one of your jokes.
It's true.
Sounds like one of your jokes, John.
It is not. They co-wrote a song with Metallica that was a huge hit in Asia.
Must be true.
That's bullshit. All right. So you did pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I know very little about Pet Shop Boys, and yet their sound is recognizable to me.
Very recognizable. Yeah, very signature, right? Like Neil Tennant has a distinctive voice. There's something. I spent a lot of time thinking about this guy. Mm-hmm. He got in my head a little bit because their music is so gay, club mix.
Yes.
And they have a song in here about AIDS.
Yes.
And yet he has a little nasal snarl in his voice that's kind of Johnny Rotten. There's something hard about it.
Yeah.
You've got the love. Let's make lots of money. He kind of sounds like he's got this way of singing that is both soft and gentle and pretty, and yet there's something in there. So once again,
character.
He sings in a register like his spectrum of notes is about this wide. Mm-hmm. Not a great singer.
Right.
But a great vocalist.
And a great melody maker.
I'm sorry, backwards. Not
Yeah.
a great vocalist, but a great singer.
Okay, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's not this. Wow, listen to the voice on that guy. But he is. What he does is so cool and so distinctive. I think he's a great singer.
Well, I'm actually taking a vocal technique class at Ventura College right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's a wide range of people in the class, older or younger, that all have very different reasons for taking the class, and they want to sing and they want to do something with it, learn how to use their voice. But there was this young guy in the class who was just like, I want to be perfect. I want to be like the people on The Voice. I want to go on The Voice or American Idol, and I want to be perfect. And then we all it's a discussion class. So everyone's like, what do you think of that? Everyone had a wide range of opinions on that, but I was sort of rolling my eyes at the idea of like perfection is what the judges on The Voice or American Idol say is perfection. Because that's a very narrow, to me, vision of what singing is. What do you think of that?
said he was young.
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny on The Voice and American Idol. They had people like Jennifer Lopez and Katy Perry
Right.
who would never make it on that show. You
No.
wouldn't make it past the audition process if you had to sing. But as artists,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
and so yeah,
Because they're brutal on that show. They're super cruel to people, and they're like, you'll never make it in this industry.
that's why so few people, especially lately, like look, those shows have been going on for how long? How many genuine stars have come off of those shows? Kelly Clarkson, maybe and what's her name? The country girl. She's huge. She came off that show, the blonde girl, Carrie Underwood.
Oh, yeah, right.
But when was the last time someone became an international superstar? You know why? They're not making artists. They're making singers.
Yeah.
They're singers. They're not artists.
It's kind of boring to me.
It is a little bit
Yeah.
boring. It's and
it's also pumped up for drama. Like,
It's- of
the
course
show
it
is a reality show.
But there are some great singers on that show.
For sure.
Great singers.
Yeah.
And I get why you told me the story about the college class. I understand it. And
Yeah.
yes, I'll come in and do it.
Thank you.
do a performance and
please.
answer
please
questions.
help us out. Okay, so do you have a standout song on Pet Shop Boys?
Yeah. You know, Harold Faltermeyer produced this record, which, you know who he is? He produced Axel's theme from Beverly Hills
No
Cop.
way.
Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum.
I heard it immediately in my head when you said that.
A very
Yes.
distinctive 80s sound that he brings to
Yes.
this. And one of the reason I thought this was interesting, they wanted to use him because they wanted to do analog synth stuff, and he was really good at that. But and then, dude, you know who's on this record? Okay, Johnny Marr plays guitar.
Right.
And there's a song called My October Symphony. His guitar adds a lot to that tune because they're trying to do like an R&B thing on that song,
Right.
and they don't have a bass player or a drummer.
Oh, I know who you're going to say. Now that I see it. It's Angela Badalamenti.
Angela Badalamenti, yeah,
Who
the
we
guy
talked
from
about. Yeah.
Twin Peaks guy who's on
Yeah.
his record.
Makes sense.
Crazy.
I don't know what you think about his technical skill, but he's definitely doing a thing. You
Yeah,
know?
and you can hear it on that one
Right.
song. It
Yeah.
sounds exactly like those boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
yes.
It's the
Uh-huh.
exact same sound. I don't know what to call it because
Yeah.
it sounds like a plucked bass, but it's done on a synth, so it's probably like a vibe setting or something. But you could totally hear it. And then so Johnny Marr does a great job on that song. He adds a lot to that My October Symphony. Whoever programmed the drums and the bass on that, whoever programmed the bass in that song, hats off to him because it almost has a Marvin Gaye groove to it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, the sound of this album, it's weird because it did make me think of cheesier stuff. The dance, you remember like I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That had to be around 1990. That had to be around this time. That stuff was popular.
Yeah.
And there are those big, I don't know.
Right said Fred.
Yeah, and there are a few like cheesy touches on the Pet Shop Boys stuff.
Oh.
I'm like, these are cliches of dance music at this moment, and I guess that makes sense. I in a lot of ways, some of this album feels out of style to me. But what makes this album transcend being out of style in some ways is the songwriting to me. Their melodies, their sort of craft at creating a particular kind of mood in their songs is really great on this
It is
album.
great.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of 80s tropes in here. The big horn blasts and the synth.
Thing.
The orchestra blasts. So it does sound 80s-ish.
Yes.
But that's not... They never were trying to be 90s. They are a club dance band.
Yeah.
And like you said, like that song Into the World, they can write a dance song.
Right.
But so they have a song called Being Boring, which is about AIDS.
Yeah.
Listen to this lyric, all the people I was kissing, some are here and some are missing in the 1990s. That almost made me cry. That was beautiful.
Totally.
I mean, I remember what it was like to live through what the gay community went through with AIDS. It was fucking horrifying.
Well, I was a kid, and I mean, it was disturbing, and it was something that we had to learn about.
And then, so the that song was very chilling. You know, brought back the horrible memories of the AIDS crisis and what the gay community went through. But then they have a song called "Face the Truth" that Faltermeyer is doing like his Casio thing on. And here's one of the lines. You know, it hurts me when you lie. Sometimes it even makes me cry. And I went like,
it seems like it's, I don't know. Is it unavoidable to write stink lines sometimes? I mean, is that just what happens?
People don't, I don't know. Yeah. Most people don't care about lyrics as much as I do. We've talked about that. That's like a phenomenon. But they have great, Jealousy is a very cool song about that subject. Jealous, it's called Jealous. Or Jealousy.
Because remember, Dylan had the line, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle like a bowl of soup.
I'm trying to...
It's so bad it's good.
I'm trying to forget that. And then there's a song in there called How Can You Expect to Be Taken Seriously? The lyrics are great.
Yep.
It's as much of a take the piss out of somebody who thinks there's something as Billy Joel's Big Shot.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. I love Big Shot. And he wrote that after Billy Joel wrote Big Shot after a night out with Mick Jagger and Jerry Hall.
Is that who it was?
Yeah, and the whole he's like with the Dom Perignon in your hand and a spoon up your nose. You know, like it's so good. I love that album.
When you wake up in the morning with your head on fire and your eyes too bloody to see.
So good.
Yeah, it's a great song.
All right, so
standout song was My October Symphony. I dug the song.
Okay,
got a nice R&B vibe to it.
So, at last we arrive at our final album for this part of October 1990. The album Too Dark Park by the band Skinny Puppy. They are in the genre of what might be called industrial music. This is their 6th studio album. So they'd been around for a while in the 80s, and this album I think is a particular sort of moment in their discography, and we can talk about that. But you know, it's funny because we talked about like scary stuff. Like you had talked about that on a previous episode, that like, you know, all these metal guys, these glam guys thought they were rebels, you know, and then like NWA came along and just crushed that idea. Like, because NWA were hunted by the FBI. They're, you know, they were like fuck the police. And to me, I would much rather hang out with NWA than the guys from Skinny Puppy, because these guys scare me. This is like haunted house music to me. Like, this is like music that's, I know it's meant to be scary, but it took me a second to adjust to their fucking insane sound of this album, which is very abrasive and grating, and like, it's like, to me, it's like Nine Inch Nails meets Marilyn Manson, like the themes of Marilyn Manson and the sound of Nine Inch Nails sort of together in some ways, but then taken to like the extreme of all the grinding sounds and growling vocals. But I began to sort of appreciate a little bit of what Skinny Puppy's doing here, because they're dedicated to their sound. And their sound is like, this album is like an environmentalist album. Yeah, like it's all themes about like
humans destroying nature.
Yeah, the annihilation of nature, and it's like okay, well, that actually fits here. This is like they're actually committing to the idea of like, this is the sound of the earth coming apart, you know, kind of thing. It's not for me. I'm not going to put this album on probably ever again. But I had a girlfriend years ago in New York that was a huge Skinny Puppy person. Oh, really? And it scared the shit out of me that she was into this music.
It's interesting. I don't even.
Do you know Skinny Puppy at all? Were you familiar with them before this?
Not their material. They were. You know, if you recall, I suggested we put them in this. Yeah. Because they're part of a thing that started happening in the 80s and went into the 90s. I didn't pay attention to it, but it was pretty big. The industrial and tech, like the techno goth shit and whatever. I've never heard Canadians sound so angry.
I know, right? It's like, you guys have national health care. What are you so
Vancouver?
Pissed about?
What the fuck are you pissed off about? But there's a band, we'll probably talk about them pretty soon, called Ministry.
Yes.
They had the interesting about Ministry. So Al Jurgensen is the guy from Ministry, and he became like one of the progenitors of this industrial sort of techno metal music, Nine Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy. He looms large over this record.
Yeah.
So the record before this for Skinny Puppy, it's called Rabies. It's actually, in my opinion, a better record. They'd probably be pissed off they heard me say that, but he produced and played on that record. Did a lot of production on it, playing on it, and because of some things that happened, like he took one of their guy named, his last name's Ogre. He went on tour with Al Jurgensen after this, and there was a lot of drugs that Al Jurgensen brought into the mix. The Kevin Compton, who was one of the leaders of this band, of Skinny Puppy, felt like Al Jurgensen was trying to break them up. They have a lot of resentment about him. So they, on this record, they wanted to divest themselves from these connections to Al Jurgensen and the sound of Rabies and that whole record. So there's less guitars, and it's just more of this. And in doing that, I think they sort of, I think that mission overshadowed what they were trying to do as a band.
Interesting.
Because these aren't even songs. It's just a bunch of I felt like there's a lot of drama in the band, drug problems, shit like that. It is a horror movie-ish look at life. The themes, destruction of nature, like you said. There's no discernible melodies in these songs.
No.
You'll never hear someone whistling a Skinny Puppy song.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's none of that. I felt like this felt like listening to Depeche Mode on a bad acid trip.
Totally. Yeah. It is. If I were in a different state of mind that I've been in previous moments in my life of like dealing with anxiety and panic attacks, I wouldn't even be able to listen to shit like this.
I wrote a note in here. If I really didn't like someone, really didn't like them, I'd slip LSD in their drink and make them listen to this record.
Well, you know what's interesting is that one of the things that happened with their last album, which came out in 2013, they made in response to hearing that U.S. military personnel were using Skinny Puppy songs to torture inmates at Guantanamo Bay during the War on Terror. And that the people who had been scooped up in the War on Terror, they were using Skinny Puppy. I think there were some other songs, some other bands that were sort of known for this, where they were like playing that shit really, really loud for hours and hours and hours, along with, lights and stuff like that to drive people fucking insane. And they made a response to that. They made an album called Weapon. It's their final album. And they made it sort of as a statement. They sent a bill to the U.S. State Department and asked for $666,000 to be paid for the use of their stuff as torture. And then weirdly, they kind of leaned into it. They made an album called Weapon that was sort of about weapons, war, etc.
Really?
It's super heavy.
Crazy.
I mean, it's real. It's crazy. And I will say, the Skinny Puppy guys speak very eloquently about their use of the U.S. government's use of their music as a weapon of torture, and they have sort of sophisticated opinions about war and politics, honestly.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I was joking. I would never slip LSD in anybody's drink, much less put on a Skinny Puppy record. I was joking with that, but that's horrifying.
Isn't it crazy?
I felt like Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange.
Totally.
Sometimes.
But it's funny that you picked up on that.
Yeah.
That this is actually, within that realm of music that grates on you.
And it even without a visual component, I listened to this on a plane, part of it, and if I close my eyes, I almost had a montage like the beginning of Seven, like that David Fincher's
totally,
montage.
which is Nine Inch Nails, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or even the beginning. Remember the show True Blood on HBO?
Yeah.
At the beginning, it had the decaying body.
Yes.
Those montages of time lapse photography of things of
True Blood or True Detective?
True Blood.
Okay.
The opening,
because the opening sequences of True Detective are pretty intense too.
Are they?
Yeah, they're kind of like that. There's a murder show.
I saw True Detective, the first and last season of it.
I can't believe that you listened to this on a plane.
I did.
Skinny Puppy. I couldn't listen to this on a plane.
I listened on a plane without headphones. I had it blasting in the whole plane. No, I'm kidding. I didn't.
Hey, everybody.
But I have to say, underneath all of that, okay. Let me. Okay. this the singing sounds like a broken Halloween decoration.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Or
that's why I said haunted house. Put this in a dark room with strobe lights. You don't even need much visuals.
Yeah.
I'm fucking losing my mind.
Spooky.
Yes. And I guess there's a certain talent in producing that kind of sound.
There is, underneath all of this, there is a pop sensibility about what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's something, there's something rhythmically drew me in. Even in the word, there's a song called Convulsion. Dude, it sounds like it's Freddy Krueger rapping.
Yeah,
you know, it's
right.
just what the hell, you know?
Yeah.
But there's something like rhythmically in these moments of little synth patches that kind of keeps you interested.
Yeah.
You know, I get why people I get why people would like this. Like I said, I went back and listened to a little bit of Rabies because I thought it was relevant.
Right.
It's in my opinion, it's better musically.
Well, they have a following, and I mean, they must have something because they compel a lot of people to follow them and to go to their shows, and their shows are their shows are almost like GWAR shows, but for real. You know what I mean? Like they do costumes, they do blood, they do, you know, they look like mutants on stage, but GWAR seems like it's a little more tongue in cheek.
Well, they're wearing like monster costumes and shit.
Right. Yeah, but it seems like these guys are for real. They're like really trying to scare you.
They are. There's a song called Morpheus Laughing. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Bruce Willis is that Bruce Willis? Yeah, it is. It's from like a Saturday Night Live skit, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, they do samples.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sample a lot, and that actually surprised me. I didn't really realize that Skinny Puppy were sampling movies and sort of had that approach to their music.
So I have a standout song.
Do you really?
They have a song on here called Tormentor. That has like a Nine Inch Nails meets Depeche Mode moment in
Yeah,
it.
you can hear that in this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, it made me think about Trent Reznor as sort of like one of those guys that picked up on some of that industrial stuff that was happening in the underground and became a huge mainstream artist. I mean, it's funny because listening to Trent Reznor songs, even when he's saying like "I want to fuck you like an animal" kind of shit, I'm like, this sounds so like tame compared to Skinny Puppy.
Well, he's a pop songwriter,
right?
Even though
Johnny Cash made his most famous song,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
that's a great version of Hurt,
of course.
Too. But like even with stuff like Hurt and Closer, you know, he is still a pop songwriter. He's still writing with a structure and a narrative. There's no narrative here. There's just stream of consciousness, awful things being said. You know, it just.
Well, speaking of Trent Reznor, and this will come up, I think, as we move forward in the 90s. We'll hear Nine Inch Nails albums, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, you mentioned the opening of Seven, which is a David Fincher.
Yeah.
You know, he's worked with Fincher. He kept going, you know, and like his soundtrack to movies like Social Network, where it's just sort of like soft piano tones and stuff. It's interesting to me because it's obvious that Reznor has more than just that style of driving industrial shit.
He's musical,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something about this this doesn't work for me as music.
No.
But it works as art.
Yeah. I think that's...
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's exactly how I feel about it.
They have a song called Spasmolytic. It's just stream of consciousness shit. But I knew right away they're talking about withdrawal from heroin. And I knew it was about. This is about kicking heroin.
Yeah,
and it was. You know, like there's no real direct references to it. At least not at the beginning. They
say kicking the habit at some point, right?
Kicking the habit. Toward the end of the song, but at the beginning there's no reference to it. But I knew he says some things that conjure an image like filthy mattress, throbbing. You know, I went, oh, this is about kicking dope. Because I have kicked dope.
Yeah.
So maybe if you didn't kick dope, you wouldn't know that. But
which must be like a horror movie in my head.
It's the worst fucking thing.
That's so funny to me that like I remember that Trainspotting, that when that movie came out, Bob Dole, who was a presidential candidate at the time, came out and said this movie glorifies heroin use, and I had never done heroin. I still haven't done heroin. I don't plan on doing heroin, and yet watching that movie Trainspotting did not glorify heroin use to me. It it was, they depict it in a really fucking ugly, nasty
I thought
way.
So too.
Yeah.
The dead baby and
climbing in the toilet
and
and just it reinforced. It was actually an education to me on why you shouldn't do heroin.
You know what I thought glorified heroin.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
totally.
You know why I say that?
Yeah.
Because my band was on tour, and I had kicked dope and gotten cleaned up to go on this little quick tour.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with this girl in like Utah, Idaho, and she lived in San Diego. And she was like, when you guys, our tour ended in San Diego, she said, come stay with me for a couple days. So I get down there, and this is probably like 1993,
Right.
1994, you know. So if you were my girlfriend, then I apologize. I'm telling on myself here. So I got down to San Diego. The tour ends, and I've been clean for probably like 2 months now. Okay. And she goes, let's go see this movie. It was Pulp Fiction.
Oh, God.
I saw that scene of the register of the blood and the syringe.
Yeah.
I went back out and got high that fucking night.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
I couldn't. It was like, oh.
Well, yeah.
So it did. And then,
and there's like the
music,
John
and then
Travolta sort of floating
Yeah.
with the rear projection. Yeah, I know exactly
and
what
his
you're talking
eyes
about.
are like, he's got kind of a half smile.
It's not like Trainspotting at all.
Now,
Trainspotting is like a filthy nightmare.
later when Uma Thurman is fucking puking and going out and they're trying to save her, that's not glorifying.
That's horrifying too.
Yeah.
The needle in the heart. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have a song? Do you have one song that stands out for you? This part one of October 1990.
So, I almost went with Iron Maiden because I love them so much.
Yeah.
But my standout song for this month is "There She Goes" by The Laws, because it's such a had such an impact on the landscape of this country for so long.
Yeah.
It was everywhere for a while, and it is a beautiful, perfect pop gem.
100%, and it does feel like, to me, that song always existed. It's just, I don't know where it came from, but obviously it came from this album. They'd been around, but I think 1990 was sort of the end of the Laws, interestingly enough.
Yeah, they didn't stick
I think
around.
they're kind of the lads. It's the lads. This is what their name is referencing, like Scottish or British lads.
I guess, and it also...
It's kind of a weird name for a band, honestly. Because when you say the Laws out loud, I think
like LAW.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it probably is the Laz.
Okay, so I'm glad you did not choose the Goo Goo Dolls song, There You Are. It's funny, it says, there she goes, and there you are.
Did you choose that one?
Yeah, because There You Are, to me, is... I picked it not because it's like the greatest song in the world, but it stood out to me in part because I was like, oh, here's a sound that's going to just dominate. And again, dominate a certain strand of, I would say, mainstream American culture. And to me, again, it was... I've spent much of my life, especially in the 90s and 2000s, being like, whatever about like mainstream stuff. But now, as I get older, I sort of respect the ability it takes to get there and to touch that many people. And I think you're right in sort of recognizing the Goo Goo Dolls as this Buffalo band that kind of like manufactured, I don't think cynically, but manufactured a sound that just hits to people. I mean, the line... and I'd give up forever to touch you is the opening line of Iris. It is such a perfect line because it is the theme. It is the theme of the movie, which is about an angel who decides he'll give up eternity to be with this woman on Earth. And it's just something so annoying about guys that can just create stuff like that.
We'll talk
and
about...
you hear it here on There You Are.
We'll talk about this in greater detail when that record comes out. But that was the first song he'd written in a very long time after a huge case of writer's block.
Right. Kind of incredible. Just spilled out.
There You Are. I like that as a choice because it's a harbinger of this sound that's going to come out of that band and really dominate for a while.
Yeah, and probably
not just
have
them, but yeah.
Yeah, and probably have a bunch of imitators, is what I'm going to say, for better or worse. All right, John, we made it through October Part 1. There is going to be a Part 2 to October 1990 because there's a whole lot more albums that came out this month, albums that are in a very different register, right?
Yeah.
They're like more...
So many.
Yeah, more in the country-ish,
Roseanne
folk
Cash,
world. Yeah.
10,000 Maniacs, yeah.
A whole bunch. So looking forward to that. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.